I want you to consider a question. A question that might feel like a betrayal to the child in you who waited for an owl that never came. What if the greatest gift of the wizarding world, the very thing that defines it, was also its most profound and inescapable curse? We have been conditioned to see magic as the ultimate escape. An escape from the mundane, the oppressive, the ordinary. We see a boy in a cupboard under the stairs, and we celebrate when a giant kicks down the door and tells him he is special. He is a wizard. And in that moment, we believe he has been saved. But has he? Or has he simply been transferred from one prison to another, one far more gilded, far more dangerous, and infinitely more tragic? Today, I am putting the very concept of magic on trial. My argument is simple, yet it cuts to the bone of this story we love so much. Magic does not save the characters of Harry Potter. It does not free them. It makes them miserable. It is the architect of their pain, the source of their trauma, and the engine of their destruction. The fan consensus, the idealized vision of Hogwarts with its floating candles and moving staircases, is a beautiful lie. It is the gatekeeper of a comfortable narrative that ignores the profound suffering baked into the very fabric of this world. My purpose here is to dismantle that lie. To act as a canonical detective, presenting evidence drawn directly from the text, evidence that has been overlooked in our rush to embrace the fantasy. I am asking you, the viewer, to be the jury. To set aside your nostalgia, to look past the wonder of a first broomstick ride, and to see the darkness that wonder casts. The darkest villain in Harry Potter isn't a snake-faced megalomaniac. It is the power that created him, the power that defined his opposite, and the power that trapped them all in a cycle of unending violence. The darkest villain is magic itself. Our story, our trial, begins as it must, with the boy who was marked for death by a magical prophecy before he could even speak. The lightning bolt scar on Harry Potter's forehead is not a symbol of hope. It is a brand. It is the magical mark of a child destined to be a soldier, a sacrifice, a weapon. From the moment of his birth, magic robs him of everything. A magical prophecy singles him out, a magical curse murders his parents, and a different, ancient magic saves his life only to condemn him to a future defined by that single, violent moment. His entry into the wizarding world is framed as a rescue, but it is an induction. Hogwarts is not a school of learning, it is his military academy. The Sorting Hat, a charming magical artifact, immediately considers placing this traumatized 11-year-old into the house of the dark wizard who murdered his family. Think of that. The very system of the school recognizes in him the potential for darkness, a shard of Voldemort's soul that magic itself has lodged within him. Every year of his supposed education is a trial by fire. In his first year, he faces the resurrected specter of his parents' killer. In his second, a 1,000-year-old basilisk. In his third, soul-sucking dementors, magical creatures of absolute despair, are set to guard his school, feeding on the trauma of the student body. In his fourth, he is illegally entered into a tournament designed for adults, a tournament that ends with him witnessing the murder of a classmate and being tortured by a reborn Voldemort. This is not education. This is systematic abuse, facilitated and enabled by the magical world's leaders. Dumbledore himself admits it. He tells Harry, with a sorrow that does not absolve him, "I have been raising you like a pig for slaughter." The love that saved him, his mother's sacrifice, is weaponized. It becomes a tool, a magical shield that Dumbledore knowingly cultivates to keep his weapon alive until the day it can be properly deployed. The magic that flows in Harry's veins is a magnet for pain. It connects him to Voldemort's mind, forcing him to experience the rage, the cruelty, the thoughts of a madman. It makes him a pariah, a speaker of Parseltongue, linking him to the lineage of Salazar Slytherin. His greatest magical triumphs are almost always born of desperation and survival, not joy and discovery. He learns the Patronus charm not as a beautiful piece of advanced magic, but as a desperate defense against creatures that force him to relive the murder of his mother. He learns to duel not for sport, but because his life is forfeit. Magic denies Harry a childhood, a choice, and a future. He is not a boy who learns magic, he is a boy who is consumed by it. His life is a testament to the misery that magic can inflict upon a single soul, a burden placed upon him before he had any power to refuse it. The wonder of that first trip to Diagon Alley fades awfully quickly when you realize it was just a trip to the armory to equip a child for a war he never asked to fight. The escape from the Dursleys was merely a transfer to a battlefield where the stakes were infinitely higher and the wounds cut directly into the soul. Now, let's turn to the brightest witch of her age, Hermione Granger. If magic is a curse for the chosen one, for Hermione, it is the source of a profound and painful identity crisis. Magic is what makes her special, but it is also what marks her as inferior in the world she so desperately wants to belong to. The word, mudblood, is not a simple insult. It is a piece of magical doctrine. It is a slur born from a magical society's deeply ingrained system of blood-based prejudice. From the moment she steps into the wizarding world, a world she has only read about, she is confronted with the fact that her very existence is considered an impurity. Her magical ability is not a gift to be celebrated, but a status she must constantly defend. Her relentless pursuit of knowledge, her academic perfectionism, is not just ambition. It is a shield. It is a desperate attempt to prove her worth in a world that is engineered to deny it. She must be the best, she must know every spell, every counter-jinx, every potion, because she knows that any mistake, any failure, will be attributed not to her as an individual, but to her blood. She is fighting a war on two fronts, one against Voldemort and his Death Eaters, and another, more intimate war against the systemic bigotry of the world she has chosen as her own. Imagine the psychological toll. To be told you are a witch, that you possess a wondrous power, only to discover that this power comes with a built-in hierarchy that places you at the bottom. The magic in her blood is the very thing used to justify hatred against her. Draco Malfoy's sneering delivery of that one word in their second year is a piece of violence. It is an act of magical terrorism, designed to invalidate her entire being. And the misery does not stop at the school gates. The ultimate price Hermione pays for her magic is her family. In a heartbreaking act of love and sacrifice, she performs a memory charm on her own parents, erasing herself from their lives entirely. She does this to protect them from the magical world. The world that was supposed to be her salvation is so dangerous, so toxic, that her only way to keep her Muggle family safe is to magically sever her connection to them. She chooses magic, and in doing so, she orphans herself. This is not a triumphant choice. It is a tragic necessity. Magic gave her a new family in Harry and Ron, yes, but it forced her to destroy her first one. Her power, her brilliance, her identity as a witch, is inextricably linked to this profound act of loss. She carries this silent grief, this self-inflicted wound, throughout the rest of the war. Magic offered her a world of wonders, but that world demanded a sacrifice that no child should ever have to make. It gave her power, but it cost her her roots, her history, and the simple comfort of being her parents' daughter. For Hermione, magic is a double-edged sword that glitters with knowledge on one side and drips with the poison of prejudice and loss on the other. And what of the king? Ronald Weasley. For Ron, magic is a constant reminder of what he is not. It is the source of his deepest insecurities, a lens through which he views his own inadequacy. The Weasley family represents a different kind of magical misery, the misery of social and economic anxiety within a world that pretends to be above such mundane concerns. They are purebloods, one of the oldest magical families, but they are dismissed as blood traitors and looked down upon for their poverty. Magic does not create a meritocracy, it reinforces a rigid, ancient class structure. Ron lives his entire life in the shadow of others. The shadow of his successful older brothers, a head boy, a Quidditch captain, a cursebreaker, a dragon tamer. And most overwhelmingly, the shadow of his best friend, the famous, wealthy, and magically destined Harry Potter. Ron's experience at Hogwarts is defined by hand-me-downs. A second-hand wand that breaks and backfires. Second-hand robes that are out of style. A second-hand rat that turns out to be a dark wizard in disguise. These are not just charming quirks of a poor but loving family. They are daily, public humiliations. In a world where the quality of your magical tools can mean the difference between life and death, Ron is consistently given the short end of the stick. His poverty is not just a social stigma, it is a tangible handicap. This breeds a deep-seated resentment that festers within him. His jealousy of Harry is not a simple character flaw, it is a direct result of the magical world's values. Harry has a vault full of gold he never earned. Harry has a state-of-the-art firebolt. Harry is the center of attention, the subject of every whispered conversation. Ron, meanwhile, is the sidekick, the afterthought. The Locket Horcrux preys on these insecurities, but it does not create them. It merely amplifies the misery that was already there. It shows him his greatest fears, that he is the least loved by his mother, that Hermione would prefer Harry. These fears are rooted in his perceived status within the magical world. He feels second best because, in many ways, the world of magic has told him he is. Even his moments of triumph are often tinged with this feeling. When he excels as a Quidditch keeper, he believes it is only because of a magical luck potion. He lacks the self-confidence to believe that his own magical talent is enough. Magic, for Ron, is not a source of empowerment. It is a yardstick against which he constantly measures himself and finds himself wanting. It is the architecture of the social prison that keeps him feeling small, overlooked, and perpetually in second place. His journey is a struggle to find self-worth in a world whose magical values have taught him that he has very little of it. The misery of magic is not reserved for our central trio. It radiates outwards, poisoning the lives of nearly everyone it touches, often through the inescapable curse of family. Consider Neville Longbottom and Draco Malfoy, two boys from opposite ends of the magical social spectrum, both trapped and made miserable by the legacy of their blood. Neville is born into a world that expects him to be a hero. His parents were celebrated Aurors, members of the original Order of the Phoenix, who were magically tortured into insanity by Bellatrix Lestrange. They are alive, but they do not know him. He is a magical orphan with living parents, a uniquely cruel fate delivered by a dark curse. From his first day at Hogwarts, Neville is a disappointment. He is clumsy, forgetful, and seemingly weak in magic. His own family, particularly his grandmother, constantly measures him against the heroic parents he barely remembers. He is the boy who was almost the chosen one, a fact that hangs over him like a shroud. The pressure to live up to his magical heritage is a source of immense anxiety and fear. His boggart, the magical manifestation of his greatest terror, is Professor Snape, a teacher who bullies him relentlessly for his perceived incompetence. Magic, for Neville, is not a tool of wonder, but a standard of excellence he feels he can never achieve. It is the source of his trauma and the root of his shame. On the other side, we have Draco Malfoy, a boy poisoned by his magical inheritance. He is born into a family of wealth, power, and pure-blood fanaticism. From birth, he is indoctrinated into a magical ideology of hate and supremacy. He does not choose to be a bigot, he is raised to be one. His cruelty towards Hermione, his rivalry with Harry, his disdain for the Weasleys, these are not his own inventions. They are the learned behaviors of his magical upbringing. His misery is more subtle, but no less profound. In his 6th year, he is tasked by Voldemort with murdering Albus Dumbledore. He is 16 years old. This is not a test of his loyalty, it is a form of psychological torture. He is trapped. If he succeeds, he becomes a murderer. If he fails, Voldemort will kill him and his family. We see the toll it takes on him, the weight loss, the dark circles under his eyes, his secret crying in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. He is a child forced into an impossible position by the dark magical politics of his family. Draco is not a simple villain. He is a victim of his own magical heritage. The power and prestige of the Malfoy name is a cage, and he is the bird trapped inside. Both Neville and Draco are made miserable by the expectations that their magical families place upon them. For Neville, it is the pressure to be a hero. For Draco, it is the pressure to be a monster. Neither boy is allowed to simply be himself. Their paths are dictated by the magical blood that flows in their veins, a legacy that proves to be a source of profound suffering for them both. The insidious nature of magic extends beyond the human characters, creating entire systems of oppression. The most glaring example is the enslavement of house elves. This is not an economic system, it is a magical one. House elves are bound by a powerful, innate magic that forces them to serve a wizarding family. They cannot disobey a direct order. This magical bond is the foundation of their misery. Dobby, our first introduction to this race, is a portrait of a victim of abuse. He punishes himself for perceived transgressions, ironing his hands or banging his head against the wall. This self-harm is a direct result of the magical conditioning that governs his life. His desire for freedom is seen as a shameful perversion by his own kind. When he is finally freed, he is an outcast. The magical world has created a race of beings and then used magic to enslave them so thoroughly that the very concept of liberty is terrifying to them. Even after his freedom, Dobby's life is defined by service. He finds a new purpose in serving Harry Potter, the one who freed him. His ultimate sacrifice, dying to save Harry and his friends, is both heroic and tragic. He dies a free elf, but his entire existence, from beginning to end, was shaped by the magical institution of his enslavement. Then there is Kreacher. Kreacher's story is a dark mirror to Dobby's. He is bound to the House of Black, a family steeped in dark magic and pure-blood ideology. He internalizes their hatred. His masters, particularly Sirius's mother, treat him with contempt, and in turn, he treats everyone who does not fit their pure-blood ideal with that same contempt. His misery is a twisted, bitter thing. He is a product of his magical environment. The love he feels for Regulus Black is the one bright spot in his grim existence, but even that is tied to the dark magic of the Horcrux locket. His betrayal of Sirius is not born of pure malice, but of loneliness, neglect, and the poisonous influence of the Black family magic. He is a victim lashing out. The enslavement of house elves, the marginalization of giants, the suspicion towards werewolves like Remus Lupin, these are not social failings that magic could solve. These are social failings created by magic. The magical world uses its power not to uplift, but to create and enforce a brutal hierarchy, ensuring a permanent, miserable underclass of beings whose very nature is defined by the magical shackles placed upon them. It is a fundamental stain on the morality of the entire wizarding society. Even those who stand at the pinnacle of magical power, those who have mastered its deepest secrets, are not immune to its misery. In fact, they may be its greatest victims. Let us examine the two most powerful wizards of their age, Albus Dumbledore and Tom Riddle. Lord Voldemort is the ultimate cautionary tale of what the pursuit of magical power can do to a soul. Born of a loveless union, a product of a magical family's decline, Tom Riddle's entire life is a reaction to his squalid beginnings. He seeks power, immortality, and supremacy through magic as a way to transcend his own humanity, which he views as a weakness. He splits his soul, a perversion of magic so profound it is considered unspeakable, in a desperate bid to conquer death. But what does this magical power grant him? He cannot understand love, friendship, or loyalty. He is incapable of any true connection. His followers are motivated by fear, not devotion. His physical form becomes a monstrous, inhuman shell. He is trapped in a state of perpetual, paranoid isolation. His magic does not bring him joy or fulfillment, it only hollows him out, leaving a being of pure rage and fear. His existence is a miserable, lonely one, a ghost haunting the world, terrified of the one thing that makes life worth living, its end. Then there is Dumbledore, the supposed champion of the light. Dumbledore's misery is quieter, more tragic, and far more complex. His immense magical talent, his genius, is a burden that leads him down a dark path in his youth. His friendship and infatuation with Gellert Grindelwald lead them to dream of a world where wizards rule over muggles, for the greater good. This magical ambition, this belief in his own superiority, results directly in the death of his sister, Ariana. This single event breaks him. He spends the rest of his long life haunted by this failure. His power becomes a source of temptation he must constantly resist. He refuses the position of minister for magic, not out of humility, but out of a deep-seated fear of what he might do with that power. His magical genius isolates him. He sees the bigger picture, the grand chessboard of the war against Voldemort, and this forces him to make horrific, manipulative choices. He withholds crucial information from Harry. He molds the boy into a weapon. He sacrifices Snape's soul by asking him to kill him. He orchestrates events with a cold, calculating precision, all while pretending to be a benevolent, twinkling-eyed mentor. This is not the life of a happy man. It is the life of a man in constant penance, a man who trusts no one, least of all himself. His great power does not free him, it imprisons him in a cage of his own making, forcing him to carry the weight of the world alone. For both Dumbledore and Voldemort, ultimate magical power leads not to triumph, but to ultimate isolation and misery. The institution that stands as the very heart of the British wizarding world, the place we are all taught to love, is perhaps the greatest perpetrator of this magical misery. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry is not a safe haven. It is a deeply flawed, criminally negligent, and consistently dangerous institution. Let us set aside the whimsical moving portraits and the feasts in the Great Hall, and let us look at the evidence. The school's very foundation is built on a schism between its founders, one of whom, Salazar Slytherin, built a secret chamber containing a monster designed to purge the school of students he deemed unworthy. This chamber is open twice, and the faculty is utterly incapable of protecting the students. A girl is killed. Several others are petrified. The school is kept open. The Forbidden Forest, a place filled with giant spiders, hostile centaurs, and other lethal creatures, is located on school grounds. Students are regularly sent into this forest for detention. This is not a quirky rule, it is institutionalized child endangerment. The defense against the dark arts position is famously cursed, leading to a parade of incompetent, fraudulent, or actively malicious teachers. One is secretly hosting Voldemort on the back of his head. Another is a celebrity fraud who wipes memories. A third is a werewolf who forgets to take his potion and nearly mauls 3 students. A fourth is a Death Eater in disguise who tortures and murders his way through the school year. A fifth is a sadistic government official who uses a magical quill to torture students with their own blood. This is not a run of bad luck. This is a catastrophic failure of the hiring process and a fundamental disregard for student safety. Bullying is rampant and largely ignored. James Potter and Sirius Black, lionized as heroes, relentlessly torment Severus Snape, using magic to humiliate him in ways that constitute severe physical and psychological abuse. This is framed as a schoolboy rivalry, but it is not. It is assault, and it goes unpunished by the staff, including Dumbledore. This unchecked bullying helps forge the bitter, cruel man Snape becomes. The culture of inter-house rivalry, particularly between Gryffindor and Slytherin, fosters an environment of prejudice and hostility that mirrors the divisions of the wider wizarding world. Instead of teaching unity, Hogwarts actively encourages tribalism. The school is a microcosm of everything wrong with the magical world. It is a place where ancient prejudices are allowed to fester, where children are repeatedly placed in mortal danger, and where the adults in charge consistently fail in their duty of care. The magical charm of Hogwarts is a facade, hiding a dark reality of negligence and institutional decay. It is not the sanctuary we believe it to be. It is the crucible where the misery of the magical world is forged in generation after generation of children. Ultimately, all these threads of misery, the personal traumas, the societal prejudices, the institutional failures, are woven together into the bloody tapestry of war. The central conflict of the Harry Potter series is a magical civil war, fought over magical ideology, with magical weapons. The existence of magic itself is what makes the conflict possible. The ideology of blood purity, the central tenet of Voldemort's regime, is a concept that could only exist in a world where magic is hereditary. The war is a violent, self-perpetuating cycle. The first Wizarding War creates the conditions for the second. It leaves behind a generation of orphans like Harry, traumatized survivors like Neville, and embittered veterans like Snape. The prejudices and hatreds that fueled the First War are not resolved, they are simply allowed to simmer for a decade before boiling over again. Magic provides the tools for this unending violence. The unforgivable curses to control, to torture, and to kill, are a testament to the dark capabilities inherent in this power. The war is not fought with negotiation or diplomacy, but with wands that act as magical firearms, dealing out death and destruction. The heroes are forced to adopt the methods of their enemies to survive. Harry uses Sectum Sempra, a curse of dark magic. He uses the Imperius and Cruciatus curses. The moral lines become blurred because magical combat demands it. The misery is generational. The Marauder's magical bullying of Snape contributes to his turn towards the Death Eaters. His bitterness and pain lead him to betray the Potters. This single act sets the entire story in motion. It is a chain reaction of pain, fueled by the misuse of magic at every step. Remus Lupin's life is destroyed by a magical affliction, lycanthropy, which makes him a social outcast and fills him with self-loathing. Sirius Black spends 12 years in Azkaban, the magical prison guarded by Dementors, a punishment of unimaginable psychological torture, for a crime he did not commit. The story is littered with the corpses and broken lives of those caught in the crossfire of this magical conflict. Dobby, Fred Weasley, Remus, Tonks, Colin Creevey, Lavender Brown, Hedwig. Their deaths are a direct consequence of the violence that magic enables. The world of Harry Potter is not a world recovering from a single Dark Lord, it is a world trapped in an inescapable cycle of magical violence, where the peace is never more than a temporary ceasefire. We have reached the end of our case. We have examined the evidence. We have seen how magic branded a child for slaughter and denied him a life. We have seen how it subjected the brightest witch of her age to a lifetime of prejudice and forced her to orphan herself. We have seen how it trapped the most loyal of friends in a prison of insecurity and poverty. We have seen how it crushed children under the weight of their family legacies, enslaved entire species, and drove its most powerful masters to lives of isolated misery. We have seen how Hogwarts, the supposed beacon of hope, was in fact a crucible of danger and negligence. Magic was the source of the bigotry, the engine of the violence, and the architect of the trauma. The story of Harry Potter is not a celebration of magic. It is a profound tragedy about the suffering that magic causes. The fan consensus, the idealized view of this world, has for too long ignored the cries of the victims. It has chosen to see the light of a Patronus charm without acknowledging the soul-crushing despair of the Dementor that makes it necessary. The moral of this story is not that love and courage can conquer all. The moral is that power, especially unaccountable, hereditary, magical power, is inherently corrupting. It creates hierarchies, enables prejudice, and fuels conflict. It does not solve human problems, it merely gives them a more destructive and fantastical expression. Now, I turn to you, the jury. Look past the spells and the soaring castles. Look at the faces of the children forced to fight a war they did not start, a war fought over magical blood. Look at the tears of a house elf who only ever wanted a sock. Look at the haunted eyes of a headmaster who sacrificed children for the greater good. Tell me, was the wonder worth the pain? Was the escape into this world truly an escape, or was it a descent into a more beautiful, and therefore more terrible, kind of suffering? You have heard the evidence. The verdict is yours. Comment below and tell me, is magic a gift, or is it a curse? Share this story, not to destroy a world we love, but to finally, truly understand the price its characters had to pay.